everybody. Thank you for coming back after lunch when it's so glorious, the weather outside. And thank you for joining us for this afternoon's keynote session, which is all about voices of the future. And we're joined today by Oreal Stokes, and she's an assistant project manager at Beatfreeks, where she leads on projects within youth governance. Through her work at Beatfreeks, Loreal advocates for organisations to become institutions of the future, and she'll talk a bit more about that later as well. They do that through creativity, reflection, and the power of young people. Beatfreeks are a youth engagement and insight agency. Try saying that when you've had a couple of glasses of wine. Based in Birmingham, they focus on supporting brands, governments, and funders to learn from the innovations of young people. Not only have we got Loreal, but we've also going to be joined by Kashmir Hawker, who's a member of the West Midlands Combined Authority. And it's also actually his birthday today. He's 23 today. Makes me feel very old, but everybody say happy birthday to Kashmir. Thank you for joining us, both of you. If any of you have got any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat box throughout, and then I'll revisit those towards the end, and we can ask Kashmir and Loreal any questions from yourselves. So without anything further from me, I guess, don't want to take anything away from the speeches and talk we've got this afternoon. You're genuinely going to hear a voice of the future, and over to you, Loreal.
Thank you, Stacey. I'm just going to put my screen up. Hello, everybody. I'm Loreal. I'm guessing you can all hear me okay. I'm going to pretend that you can. Cool. So, hello. Yes, I'm Loreal. I am a assistant project manager at Beatfreeks, and I am here today to tell you a little bit about me, my background, why I'm here, a little bit about Beatfreeks and the work that we do, and then I'm going to go into a bit of a case study of the Young Combined Authority, which Kashmir is going to help me out with in a bit of a Q&A panel. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So to start, as I said, I'm Loreal. A little bit of a background around me is I'm kind of here to talk to you today about young people and the voice of young people, and also give you first a little bit of an introduction to my background. So I have a degree in business and management. I also hold an international Masters of Business Administration, and I've always focused my studies around diversity and leadership. I did a project, my final project in my Masters was about career progression and the barriers faced by young Black women when aspiring to be in the boardroom, which I really enjoyed. So I'm all about looking at diversity and how it can have a positive impact on business, but also how to create a more diverse workforce, happier, and all those things in between. It's not necessarily all about me, but it was good to give you a little bit of a background of who I am. So yeah, I'm very passionate about diversity and leadership, and how I got where I am is through having a mentor, which is why I love working with young people now. My mentor is actually the CEO of my company now, Anissa Moridadi, who's the CEO of Beatfreeks. And she was a great inspiration for me when I was looking at all these barriers that I thought I was going to face in the working world. And she scooped me up and I started working at Beatfreeks. But the main point is she believed in me, and now I want to believe in young people and give them the opportunity, regardless of their barriers, to step into their career path and feel empowered that their voice matters. And this is essentially why I work at Beatfreeks. I've been here for about a year and a half now, and I've recently stepped into an assistant project manager role. So I am leading on youth governance, and I've started I started recently working on the Young Combined Authority, which Kashmir will tell you a little bit about later. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, how I got here, what I do, why I do what I do, and yes, that sums that up. So I just want to give you a little bit of a fact, which is there are 1.8 billion young people in the world, and half of the world's population is under 30. That's half of the world. It's massive. I think it's massive anyway. And alongside that, Beatfreeks, we're Birmingham based. So I'm not sure if I said that. Well, say it again. Birmingham is the youngest major city in Europe. We're full of young people. And this is why we are situated in Birmingham. Because Birmingham is Beatfreeks, is a growing community of young creatives. So with these young creatives, what is it that we do? So Beatfreeks, we connect young creatives with businesses, government and funders to get them to influence the way that the world works. We're interested in getting young people their part of power. When I say power, I mean their voices being heard to make positive change in the cities that they're from. We don't just work in Birmingham, we work nationally and internationally, but this is the main scope of what we do. We want young people to have their share of power and have their voices heard. So we work with brands, government and funders to see to get them to see the value in young people's voices. We believe that it's really important for organisations to consult and co-design with people that are or communities that their services affects, essentially, because it's about getting communities empowered to have their say about what's happening around them, as well as holding organisations accountable for their community service or their CSR or their services in general, and making sure that it's not just lip service. So it's not just organisations saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then we never see anything come from it. So we use young people to start holding these organisations accountable for what they're saying. And we do this in many different ways. We offer research and insight. We do workshops, training programs for both young people and institutions. And we run campaigns, and we do governance, we do youth boards, we do lots of different, we do it through lots of different ways. And to give you a little bit more of context, I'm going to mention two different types of work that we've done that essentially is different to the youth governance, which I'm going to delve into a little bit later. So the first one we've done is like HS2, the HS2 consultation, which was around getting 12 young people to consult on what the Curzon Street station will look like in the future. It's a long way away from now, but it's really important that essentially it's those young people that probably will be using the station to commute, and will be navigating around it. So why not now think about what that might look like? Why not allow people who are going to be using it in the future to have a say in what that will look like? So we did this. We facilitated the workshops between everybody that works at HS2 and also young people, and we created a report, a visual report, but also we allowed young people to gain some skills from it, and we helped them transfer and understand what they learned from having a workshop with HS2 and how they can transfer it into their career path. So that's one type of thing that we do. Another is Birmingham City Council's Pass the Fact. Now you might have seen this on Twitter because we were trending a little bit. And this was around COVID and user-generated content that challenged this idea that young people aren't taking COVID seriously. So we did this on all social media platforms, and we had over 1 million impressions, and it was covered in like the Birmingham Mail and things like that. And it was taking a platform that young people use and getting information across, or youth voices across in a different type of way. So that's where the creativity element comes in. But those are just some ways that we do it. I thought I'd give you a little bit of context because I don't want to bombard you too much with information. So why do we do this? Why is it that we care so much about youth voice, and why do we want to connect it to brands? And as Stacey mentioned, I'm a big advocate for institutions of the future. What do I mean by institutions of the future? An institution of the future is an organisation that is looking to future-proof itself and to stay sustainable, essentially. It's about having a positive effect on the world, whether that's through people or the planet, whilst also keeping themselves afloat. A business that also acknowledges how, when helping society in a sustainable way, they can also remain sustainable themselves and also stay relevant. So this is what I mean by an institution of the future, which underpins a lot of the work that we do. We push this in lots of different sectors, but in particular, which is why I'm here today, about the West Midlands Combined Authority, is in a public body space, what does this look like? So yes, the Young Combined Authority. What is it? So the Young Combined Authority is a collective of young people who bring individual experience from the different regions to have a collective say on the Combined Authority and hold them accountable for the actions that they take within the region. So what did Beatfreeks do? Beatfreeks designed a 12-month youth governance structure that brought 33 young people from the 7 different metropolitan areas of the region together to hold the West Midlands Combined Authority accountable for what they say they're going to do. So the structure was about bringing the West Midlands Combined Authority staff, board and young people together to problem solve some of the issues in the region. The young people acted as ambassadors, because this still is happening, I'm saying it in the past tense, but they were acting as ambassadors for key portfolio areas and still are, and they were using their opinions and ideas to influence their communities, but also the wider region. It's important to say that the West Midlands, the Young Combined Authority is not a youth council, it's a youth board that was created to hold the West Midlands Authority accountable for their actions. So what have the Young Combined Authority achieved? Sorry. So what are the key outcomes? So Andy Street, the mayor, has created a new policy that says that he will not speak about youth voice without a young person present, a youth representation, and making sure that he's not talking about young people without allowing a young person to have their voice heard too. And this is something that we're really keen about at Beatfreeks, and part of the reason why I brought Kashmir today is that we don't talk on behalf of young people, we allow young people to talk for themselves, because essentially I truly believe that you can't make judgments on other people without other people having their moment to speak and tell stories and their journey from their own perspective. So that's something that we're really passionate about at Beatfreeks, and something that I am too. And another thing that we have done is we have done the Young People's Manifesto for the region, which Kashmir will tell you a little bit about later on. But that was really about, it was paused because of COVID, so we're still working on it, but that will be something that's released, and that is all from the Young Combined Authority, which is really amazing. And also we've done other little bits, like with the Black Lives Matter, the Young Combined Authority wrote a letter to Deborah Cadman, who's at the West Midlands Combined Authority, and they held a conversation with her and about what the West Midlands Combined Authority is going to do in response to Black Lives Matter. So yeah, that's some of the kind of key outcomes that, I mean, we've done lots within the region, but I don't want to talk too much about it. I want Kashmir to come on and introduce himself, and let's get into a bit of a discussion around his experiences on the Young Combined Authority, and also what his plans are and how he personally has been affected or influenced from participating in the Young Combined Authority. So Kashmir, if you'd like to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, thank you very much, Loreal, and it's a pleasure to be with you all yes, as mentioned, my 23rd birthday, and any wishes are of course appreciated. But it's generally though, it's a real pleasure to be at what is clearly a very important conference which brings together some very impressive people every year. I'm Kashmir Hawker, member of the West Midlands Combined Authority, representing the city of Wolverhampton, one of the, I think, 3 representatives for Wolves. I am, as said, 23 today, and I have been part of the YCA since it was incepted back in September of last year, just over a year. And that photo was in fact from our induction day, which feels like yesterday, but also feels like a million years ago with how amazing things have, how quick things have gone. I have essentially been I essentially totally am alongside my role being on the YCA, I am a administrator for the Ceremonies, Culture and Queen's Park Relay team at the 2022 Commonwealth Games Organising Committee, where we hope to create what will, with my role specifically focusing on the cultural programme and our aims of creating what will be hopefully the most accessible, inclusive and best cultural programme that any Commonwealth Games has ever seen. My background has been in youth voice and in politics. I studied politics at Sheffield Hallam University between 2016 and 19, of which I think was a pretty good time to get stuck in then as to what happened, whether on Brexit or eventually up until COVID-19 and the 2 general elections in between. The YCA for me has been a really big way of getting myself stuck back into regional participation and politics after a couple of years out up in Sheffield, which is also a very good city for youth engagement. And to know that we are heading into a 2nd year, having done a little bit, which I'll explain, I think, in the Q&A, and our aims for this year, I think we are looking in pretty good shape. Even if it means we're a bit of a leaner and smaller board, we still have plans to engage with as many people as possible. That's a bit about me. It's a pleasure to be here, and look forward to your questions, Loreal.
Okay, thank you, Kashmir. So I guess it's best to start off with what attracted you to join the Young Combined Authority as an opportunity?
Well, as mentioned, I think it was knowing that first of all, I've done all sorts of stuff within Youth Voice for a former youth councillor, member of the UK Youth Parliament, and done linking into the British Youth Council predominantly, where there's a few organisations or bodies, forums that I was able to sit in, and even though last year I was involved in National Union of Students, and having always been involved within activism generally, I thought I really wanted to ensure that whenever I do get back home from uni, which happened to be after attempting a master's but it not quite working out in December last year, that I could get myself stuck in and really take a next step take a next step in terms of West Midlands wise, and I saw the YCA as a really perfect opportunity not just to do that, but then also join what is a much more reflective and diverse board of young people across our neck of the woods, knowing that we are the youngest, Birmingham's the youngest city in Europe, and that we're one of the youngest regions in Europe too, along with, of course, our diversity surely being one of the most broad-based in the whole of the continent. I thought it was an excellent opportunity, and seeing that 128 young people applied from across the region, and I was one of the first 30, and I was one of the lucky 33, made me truly privileged, and knowing that someone like myself with autism has been able to get involved in this way, it gives me good hope for the future.
Oh, amazing. And it's really nice to hear kind of a little bit about your story and how that landed you in the YCA role. And I can say that Kashmir is an absolute gem on the board. He's always got great things to say. But yes, right. What do you think is a benefit of a youth board? What benefits does a youth board have for organisations?
I would say, first of all, I think the way in which Beatfreeks themselves got involved, and the and just how impressive Beatfreeks as an organisation, the way that they are connected to so many young, diverse people across our neck of the woods and across the country. I think it's been an absolutely massive benefit for how we as a YCA have been able to develop and be engaged with people from across the region. And young people as a whole need a platform more than ever. It is quite heartening to know that various things around the hope for greater diversity and the ending of racism, and obviously focusing on ensuring the climate emergency, trying to beat the climate emergency, has had young people at its very heart. Even though I've still also been able to speak in the House of Lords event in 2015 and 16, and also do BBC Question Time, there's still a lot to do. And I think anybody who wants to think about getting young people involved should definitely look at what there is, particularly through the British Youth Council, and obviously the examples of us, as well as YCAs in Greater Manchester, the Sheffield City region, and also a London Youth Assembly, along of course the UK Youth Parliament and so forth. I certainly think any organisation which wants to young people should be very direct and very forthcoming, and ensure that there is a different kind of voice and a different kind of almost breath of fresh air that's able to come into their organisations, and that we are needed more than ever considering the environment that we live in.
Yes, I completely agree. And talking about the climate that we are currently living in, what changes have you seen from participating in the Young Combined Authority? I mean, off the back of you participating in the Young Combined Authority.
I think, first of all, just to say, I think me being on the YCA was a big reason as to why I was able to be appointed by the Commonwealth Games Organising Committee, which feels a really big, which for me, I think, knowing that my experience had helped me get what is an incredible first job post uni, makes me truly delighted. And in terms of what the YCA have done and so forth, things are slowly bubbling up. There's essentially been a case of, with it being the first year, it was always going to be a bit slow, knowing that we have two guaranteed seats at the Combined Authority Board for each CA board meeting, the next one of which is this Friday, and then that we'll therefore be able to express that, give our latest updates and reports onto the work that we've been doing. Then that we have a seat as well on the Overview and Scrutiny Committee of the CA, as well as then obviously therefore linking into the wider work of the Combined Authority. Certainly gives us a good platform for us to expand upon. And seeing that we wrote to, I was one of 4 co-signatories of a letter to the Mayor Andy Street on Black Lives Matter, which had a very, very comprehensive response from the Mayor. I think gives us, as I say, a good ground for us to work regardless of, doesn't work on the basis of, it doesn't matter about party politics. Sometimes young people are here to really shake things up and do it in their own different way and shout about what we believe in and what we want changing. And say on Black Lives Matter and the environment and the WM 2041 paper on the environment and so forth. And of course the manifesto, which will be reshaping a little bit post-COVID, which is understandable ahead of the mayoral elections next year. I think gives us a really good strength for us to go on and not just make change, but I think really be impactful, as that is one of our key objectives, to be do something, achieve things that people didn't think we can do.
I love that. And do you think that the impact do you believe that you're making a true impact? Is it all right with us saying that the board's in place? Do you feel that you are making an impact?
Knowing that we've first been able to, the members have been able to attend the CA events and wider events, which the CA linked into, and as I say, being able to sit on these rather important boards and be directly involved within the Combined Authorities work is a start. It is a start. Obviously, COVID-19 also actually gave an opportunity for some of us to be involved within the steering group of the region's citizens panel. So I attended a few of those meetings actually within June, I think, and July. It was to ensure that there's to ensure that that citizens panel, which produced a very good report and is on the Combined Authority's website, was ensured that it had youthful inclusion within it. Obviously, COVID-19 has completely changed the way in which we all work and all want to our priorities alike. And I think this gives us an opportunity to reset. That's where I think our manifesto will really come into place when we get round to slightly resetting it in the coming couple of months. With, as I say, it being a completely different world that we are within. And even though we've done a little bit, I certainly think there's still much more to do, but we're in a good place to kick on from here.
I love it. And what is the benefits of having a third party such as Beatfreeks in that space where you're communicating with the West Midlands Combined Authority? What is the benefit of having Beatfreeks involved in that? How has that supported you?
I would say Beatfreeks is an organisation like Beatfreeks to have been commissioned by the CA to help develop the board. I think enabled it to be as strong as it was, knowing that there was 128 of us who from across the region who applied for what eventually ended up being 33 spots on the Young Combined Authority. I certainly think shows that their outreach as an organisation really is strong. Known as well that Beatfreeks run some incredible projects, which include the National Youth Trends, which is a yearly report on on what young people want and how they're thinking of things, as well as then spoken word and poetry jams, which going to the one in February was very, very impressive. Gives us means I think we've got a real good sense of opportunity with such how creative an organisation it is, and I think the CA was bang on to find an org like Beatfreeks who have, for me, opened many doors in the process.
Amazing, thank you, Kashmir. And just to summarise, so we have a bit of time for questions. What do you think? Where would you like to see a similar youth board, or would you like to see? Is there a particular place that you'd like to see something similar to what you do at the Young Combined Authority within England potentially?
I would certainly say if there's a couple of places that glare out at the moment, you have combined authorities that don't have a board, a Young Combined Authority, a Youth Combined Authority. It would certainly, in my mind, be that of probably the Liverpool City region and west of England, as those are two very progressive minded and very bubbly places in itself. And along with that too, I think organisations as a whole should try definitely and try in what they can to ensure that young people have a spot within in whatever way possible, and knowing the way in which we soon, hopefully, I'm sure, will be the ones who will be the next members of Parliament, the next doctors, the next nurses, and key workers who have all done such. Key workers definitely have done such a great job more recently, and within this pandemic. There is definitely, I think, room for everybody to ensure that young voices are made loud and clear, knowing that this world is a very different place to what it was 12 months ago, and without our voices it could be significantly damaged more.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute myself. You keep telling me, Kashmir. Thank you so much. That was really, really inspiring. And I guess everybody who's watching this has probably got a lot of food for thought to go away with and think about what they could kind of input in their authorities and areas. And thank you so much for joining us on your birthday. I'm very impressed by you. And I thought you might want to just share with everyone. Kashmir's worked just started your job 4 weeks ago, didn't you? So you've done your whole onboarding process and everything virtually, haven't you? And how have you found that?
Because of COVID and so forth, with Birmingham 2022 work and asking all of us to work from home, I had to obviously go through the whole process from here, inside these four walls, which has been strange. But I suppose, knowing that the YCA, we as a board have actually met virtually since our last physical meeting on March the 11th, which was 12 days before the national lockdown, has, I think, given us, has made me used to it. And thankfully, virtual meetings have been a regular part of my life since the end of March. And therefore I have been able to get on quite nicely, and independent working in a nice quiet environment has been rather useful, even if the two dogs behind me can sometimes be a bit raucous.
No, definitely. But thank you so much for giving up your time this afternoon, and thank you, Loreal, yourself as well. That's really inspiring, and like I've really enjoyed it. It's been brilliant. Got a couple of questions. I was going to ask one first, actually, and that was this is more to you, Loreal. Where did the name Beatfreeks come from?
So Beatfreeks is a mashup of different words, but the main ones are about being free. So being able to be truly creative and be yourself, and just being sometimes. And it's something that we're passionate about, is getting a young person to just be free in who they are, not feel that there's they can't do anything. They're empowered to do whatever their vision is set on. We truly believe that they can do it. We'll support them in whatever way we can. We do lots of initiatives to do that, but it's around essentially being free. So our Freaks is free, so it's Freeks. So it's a mashup of words. As you can tell, we're a truly creative company.
No, it's definitely. I've got all goosebumps here. I'm feeling very empowered and energized, and have like lots of ideas bubbling around in my head. Kashmir, we've got one for you now. What are your views on multi-generational issues and the way in which the youth board work is actually breaking down barriers and views and ways of working within multi-generational groups?
That is quite a big question, but yeah. I'll try and answer it the best I can. I certainly think wherever issues, first of all, can be worked on a multi-general basis is definitely the way to go. I know, just to say that the broad range of council leaders, some are getting younger, some are older, some are older and obviously themselves have their generations have a lot to try and change themselves, which is fair enough. But that gives us surely all cause for common ground. Knowing too that how a combined authority works is that regardless of party, whoever is elected has to work together with each other. And it so happens here in the West Midlands that the mayor and the deputy mayor might be Conservative, but there are also 4 Labour Party council leaders and there are 3 Conservative Party council leaders, which essentially means a 5-4 balance, and therefore party affiliations in a sense have gone to side. And knowing that we, as an independent, non-party voice, has been able to come in and ourselves be able to forget such motives in that way has been refreshing. And as I say, regardless of say party politics here in the West Midlands, I say that this is what a combined authority is all about, to ensure that the wider interests at the end of the day is at the heart of such work, knowing that there is a climate emergency, knowing that people from younger and from same communities and from more deprived backgrounds are still need greater support. So it's certainly, I think the multi-generational gap will no doubt sadly still remain. It will take probably a few decades for it to eventually such a gap to be eliminated, but whatever can be done now should be, considering the world that we live within, a much more different world than come the 23rd of March when lockdown was introduced.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. We've got, it's not a question, but Shauna Gleeson at Kashmir has said she just wanted to say she has absolutely been blown away by you. Amazing. So
thank you very much.
That's your birthday, isn't it?
that's a lovely little present, yes.
So yeah, if anybody else has any questions, please you can go onto the the online events program, and you can still submit questions for up to 30 minutes after this event. So if you've got any questions for Kashmir or Loreal, please pop them in there and it'll be passed to them, and then we can get back to you following the event, because I know sometimes I as well sit there and then they go, oh, I wish I'd asked that, and you forget and you haven't got time. But you know, please do take advantage of that. And thank you both of you for giving up your time today. Kashmir, go and now have a brilliant birthday. What are you going to get up to?
I think chill for a little bit, and take it a little easy this afternoon, maybe listening to a work meeting, a all staff briefing that we do weekly at 4 p.m. And then actually there's an informal YCA meeting tonight at 6, where we're going to have lots of, again, more updates in terms of how we as a board are structuring, and again ensuring that we are able to have our voices made loud and clear. And just to say as well, forgot to mention too that in terms of the YCA, we now have a formal board of 15 of us, and then there will be a YCA community panel element of it, which will get youth councils and young individuals who are passionate involved themselves. So it's a case of changing structure, but changing structure to ensure that we have a bigger and a much broader base going forward, and then many more views can be reflected.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing. I'm sure we will all see and hear more of you in the future for sure.
Yes, and just to say, if you want to check me out on Twitter, I am at KDS Hawker, by the way, if you want to keep an eye on what, say, particularly the YCA do, because a lot of my tweets are about the YCA, knowing that it's become a big part of my life in the last 12 months, and I appreciate the opportunity fully to Beatfreeks.
Oh. Thank you, Kashmir, and thank you, Loreal. That's been an absolutely brilliant session. I'm sure everyone will agree, and we'll hopefully see you and speak to you again soon. Okay, thank you.